What up guys, it's the Hurricane NSX build part 16. In our last episode, we removed the fuel system from this car. In today's episode, we're going to be installing our own fuel system with some upgrades here that I think are essential, especially if you want to make big power, if you maybe want to just simplify your fuel system for easier serviceability, or if you just want to replace your aging 30-plus-year-old components. How about we start out today by removing our factory fuel level sensor. This thing's gotten pretty rusty. But I've decided that I want to replace this with another factory fuel system level sensor. And you can still buy these for like under 150 bucks. I should take a resistance measurement of what this reads out when it's full and when it's empty, because we're running an aftermarket ECU and it's gonna have to take that resistance signal and convert that signal to a working fuel gauge on our aftermarket dashboard. For jobs like this, alligator clips are nice. I don't have 6 hands, so this helps a ton. Okay, so when the tank is completely empty, we get a resistance of 1.85 kilo ohm. And when the tank is completely full, looks like it's gonna be around 1.75 kilo ohm. So that gives us a range of 0.25 kilo ohms, which is the same as 250 ohms. So if we sent 12 volts through this sensor at full, we'd get a feedback of 10.55 volts, and at empty, we'd get a feedback of 10.29 volts going back from the level sensor to the ECU. Next to go is the factory fuel pump. And we got ourselves one hell of an upgrade from Radium Engineering. There's a lot going on here for a fuel pump hanger. Thank goodness they got instructions on their website. Here's the fuel pump I've chosen. This is made by TI Automotive, VPN-590000267, or better known among tuners as the Walbro 450. It's called the 450 because it pumps about 450 liters per hour. That is such a cool looking setup. So with our larger fuel pump that's E85 rated, we should have no issue getting this build to our goal of 500 horsepower. However, we got to get fuel from the pump to the engine, and that's where this comes in. We got some AN6 fuel lines. This whole kit was provided from our new channel sponsor, Evil Energy. And check this out, they even sent us a garage banner. Fuel your passion. Now there can be a bit of a learning curve when making AN fuel lines. I know when I started doing it like 5 years ago, it took me a couple tries. Luckily, Evil Energy sends some instructions with pictures. Pictures worth 1,000 words. I'm gonna show you guys how to do it with a video. The video is like 1,000 pictures. So it all starts with a clean cut hose. This one ain't bad at all, but usually it's a little bit more frayed than this. You wanna wrap it in just one layer of masking tape. If you wrap it any thicker, you might have some trouble putting the nut on. Now we're gonna cut this. The masking tape should keep it from fraying. You could use a fine tooth hacksaw, or I like to use my Milwaukee circle saw. If it looks a little out of round, you can go ahead with the pliers, try to kind of squeeze it back into shape, and go like this too. You just want to make sure it's a nice circle. Then we're going to go ahead, take a screwdriver, and just carefully peel the steel braided sleeving off of the Teflon hose. Now we slide the ferrule in that little gap we created. And you could use the table to help you push it in place. If you see any debris in the hose there, you can always run air through it, run water through it. You don't need that stuff flowing through your fuel system. Now we'll take this female fitting here, put some lube on it, and it should slide right in. You can begin engaging the threads by hand. To tighten it up, I use this AN wrench right here. Evil Energy actually sells these. I bought this one like 5 years ago. Unlike your regular crescent wrench that's made out of steel, these are made out of aluminum, so they don't really scratch your aluminum AN fittings. And there you have it. One of the main reasons that I was very happy to have Evil Energy reach out to me for a sponsorship is I've been using their products for a super long time. A lot of them I actually used to build my Civic. If you go back on my Amazon orders, check this out. I've been using their products all the way since 2020. All sorts of hoses. I've even used some of their exhaust parts. You want to tell them about the discount code?
Use code KK10 for 10% off anything on the Evil Energy website. You could get parts for your carburetor, hoses, fuel supply stuff,
Radiator.
radiators.
What else did I see on there? Oh, they even have exhaust compartments.
Fantastic items at fantastic prices. KK10 for 10% off.
So I go to test fit our fuel pump hanger, right? And I get this slime on our fuel filter. Taking another look inside the tank, what I figured was maybe just some old gas or just a little bit of staining is actually varnish. If you look over there, you can see I was actually able to scrape some of that goop off the bottom of the tank. Obviously, we got to get that stuff out of there or it's going to clog up the whole system. So my plan is to mix a little bit of this fuel tank cleaner with some gasoline, maybe swish it around in there, let it sit for 24 hours, and hopefully I can just dump that sludge out. Alright, now we just wait 24 hours and let the cleaner work its magic. And I'm using some acetone to get this fuel filter cleaned up. I'm gonna use this little contraption I made here to really scrub inside all the baffles in the gas tank and kind of get it all agitated so that cleaning solution mixes with that varnish, and hopefully that helps it dump out easier. So good news, that gas tank cleaner worked really well. So we had like a 1/4 inch of slime across the whole bottom of that gas tank. And what the fuel system cleaner did is it took that slime and kind of dispersed it amongst the gas that we poured in there. And what you're left with is something like this. Here's what the bottom of the gas tank looks like now. It is 100 times better. With the tank cleaned up, I was finally able to install all of our new components. We'll do a quick rundown before we throw it in the car. We've got our Radium Engineering fuel pump hanger holding on to our Walbro 450 fuel pump. They've got these really nice swivel fittings and they're going into our Evil Energy PTFE 6AN lines. And I've got these little line stays here. Evil Energy makes these as well. And that'll keep them from just kind of rubbing on each other. Our feed line is the longer one, so you gotta make sure we remember that when we fish it through the car. Now for powering that pump, we've got some 10 gauge power wires. I've got it in some expandable loom, and then this section I've got with plastic loom just so it clicks into these factory clips here. Now to terminate this, we use a DTP connector. This is a 2-pin. For our level sensor, I just used an OEM level sensor to hook up our wires to it. I actually had to solder and use some clips. Let's see if I can get this dust boot off. Had to solder and use some clips, and then I covered that in epoxy to make sure our wires don't vibrate loose or anything comes disconnected. Want to make sure we have a solid contact there since these are signal wires. I've got these terminated as well with a DTM 3-wire connector. I'm going to keep the factory rollover valves in place. They got purge lines that feed into this 2-way valve right here. It takes like 1 PSI to open up this 2-way valve. I like this valve because it doesn't require any sensors, and this will purge our vapors into our charcoal canister. So we got this cavity under the car where the gas tank slides up and in, and running over the gas tank we have this battery cable. It runs all the way to the front of the car where the factory battery is located. Now currently we got our new battery in the trunk, but I've decided we are going to be moving that back to the front. I just got to move a couple things around to make sure it fits with all our aftermarket components. I talked to the customer too, and he wants to make sure that we get as much weight in the front of the vehicle as possible. So I am doing a quick redesign of the trunk. That little foam block over there, that's actually a plug for a new carbon liner I'm making that doesn't have a battery tray built in. Obviously, since this is a flood car, I don't want to run this salt damage cable, and I'd rather run a battery cable through the inside of the car where it's easier accessible, because you never know when you're going to want to change something up or attach something to the power cable, or you know what I'm talking about. This is a project car. Getting this cable out, I'm like, why are my hands getting all wet? Well, there is still water inside that plastic harness. There she is, cable's out. That was fun to remove. Not. Everything lined up so good. We got our filler, our fill vent, our tank vent, and our fuel feed and return line coming through there. And our harness came right through this hole. That'll be perfect. And check this out. Look where the fuel feed line ended up. Right beside these mounting holes. It's almost like I planned to mount a fuel filter right there. So luckily Evil Energy sent us out a fuel filter, and then I picked up one of their brackets here. I had to make one slight modification to the bracket to make sure it lined up with these mounting holes right here that are from the factory, just captive nuts in there. It's pretty cool. All I had to do was slot out this bracket. So my friend Sean at my old workplace helped me out with that. This is gonna bolt up perfect. Feed line's gonna go into the right side. It'll go through the filter and then make its way over to the fuel rail. Meanwhile, the return line down here, the shorter one, is gonna have to plug into a fuel pressure regulator. I'm gonna do a 3-port fuel pressure regulator that's regulated on the return side for this build. Our fuel is going to be pumped from the tank through our fuel filter. This is going to go straight to the fuel rail. It's going to come out of the fuel rail, circle back, and go into the bottom of our fuel pressure regulator. Any pulses in the fuel system will be dampened with our fuel pulse dampener, and then it's going to return back to the tank. Now, to see how much pressure we have in the system, we're going to install a radium pressure gauge as well. So the last thing we're gonna do today is make our own little race spec charcoal canister. So this is the vent line coming from the gas tank. Here is our factory charcoal canister. Now this was a pretty cool setup. It's got moldings on the side that allow you to slide it right into the firewall. I've seen a lot of people make homemade charcoal canisters for race cars out of PVC pipe, but I wanna see if I can hack this thing up and repurpose it. Oh. And there's the charcoal. Cool. Not too much going on in here, but if you see the center of that ring, it's actually breathable material. So what I'm thinking is that fuel vapor line connects to this bottom port right here. The vapor goes into the canister, kind of floats around in the charcoal, and then comes down the side, and it can leave out this valve right here as long as there's vacuum from the intake manifold. That vacuum will open up this little valve right here, which has the spring, whoop, and look at that, more breather material to let the fumes through. And I think if it doesn't escape out of there, it can always leave out the bottom. We got some more filter material here. So my plan is to recycle this. I want to keep these mounting portions. I'm gonna cut this end off too and make my own caps out of 3D printing ASA plastic. One of the ends is gonna need a port for the fuel vapor line, and that vapor is gonna have to go through a whole bunch of activated carbon media, and then my top cap's gonna have a bunch of small holes in it so the vapor can finally escape once it's traveled through all the carbon. That turned out nice, especially for my first ASA print. Instead of using these carbon granules, I'm gonna be using this carbon-infused aquarium filter pad. I'm just gonna cut it into little circles and then stack them up inside of here. I want this catch can to be serviceable, so if the fuel vapors ever get strong again, you can just swap out these filter pads. Now get ready, because this is the best part. Now everything is hard mounted, and it's mounted in a way that looks good, stays organized, and saves a lot of space in the engine bay. Pretty nice. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I'm sure it was a pretty chatty video, but I wanted to cover everything in depth just to let everybody know kind of what goes into a fueling system on a race car like this. I know for my car, I probably will be using this charcoal canister idea. If you have any questions or comments or anything, let me know. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.